Again, I'm Bruce Hammond, the board chair for the U.S. in MGRC, and for the recording, Rick, would you please kind of reintroduce yourself?
Okay, I'm Rick Morrow. I'm the founder of MGRC here in Tanzania. I actually started MGRC in America, but Bruce was kind enough to take it over for us.
I was something, at any rate. Alrighty, so Rick, why don't you take it away and cover the agenda? I guess I'll cover the agenda. Is to basically Rick to give an update on our move and our volunteer program, and I was going to go through a more detailed review of the ecoVillage, the master plan that was provided for us by Hopkins and Clark, the architect firm, and then we'll leave it for an open forum and talk about obviously next steps. So, Rick, why don't you start talking about how the move is coming?
Okay, I could talk for hours about why we moved. I think everybody knows that our move from Longito to Karata was predicated on us having a safer, healthier environment where we could secure water on a regular basis and have control of our environment from a safety standpoint, and we accomplished that. Elisante and I looked with Boniface's help in Karata. Well, we looked all in Arusha, we looked in Karata, and we found several places here. We evaluated them and decided on the place that we picked. It was a guest house that, because of COVID, the tourists have been, tourist business has been decimated here, so it was available. So we rented that, but we moved. I know we did a post about a month ago about how we moved 50 some girls, we moved 14 people, we moved 7 cows, all the furniture in one weekend, and that's absolutely true. We physically moved it. We've been moving in since. We've been working our tail off, getting everything straightened out, getting the girls in school, getting the relationships with where to buy this, where to buy that. When we were in Longito, of course, we knew that. In Arusha, we knew that. So we've been full with that, along with working at the site, making sure that things are going smooth at the site. Sure, we'll talk about that a little bit later. One of the challenges here was getting our girls integrated with the school. One of our concerns, I won't say challenge, it was our concerns when we first moved. And I have to say that the school has been overwhelmingly supportive. They've evaluated our girls. There's a couple of girls that were behind, which we knew. It was nice to hear them tell us, putting on some special programs to help catch up like we had in Longito. So that's working very well. One of the issues I've had before was, and I get beat up a lot by the U.S. board, is I was doing everything, which meant a lot of things weren't getting done. That's where we hired Elisante. We hired a social worker whose function is to take over a lot of the aspects of the girls, which frees me up to do the other things like the government relations and the overseeing of the construction and overseeing of what's going on here too, giving direction to Elisante and even to some of the staff. But it's up to a lot of other things because the people we have are very, very competent. Volunteer program, I'll talk about just a little bit. One of the key things that we feel will accelerate, I'm going to back up. We took the girls, we rescued many of them from the bush. In fact, all but a few came from the bush, a few came from Longito Village, which is pretty much bush. We moved them into a facility that was not ideal, but it was functional to them. It was a major step up from where they came, but we knew it wasn't ideal. We now moved them to a significant step up in their life. They have indoor toilets, indoor hot shower. They have sinks to brush their teeth. They've got double bunk beds. There are only 4 in a room. Some rooms have 6, but they have plenty of space. They've got plenty of nice environment and very secure. They've got a playground outside, but they got place to play outside, They've got a dining room where they all eat together. These are significant steps up for them. With that, we're also saying they've got to step up in their responsibility to themselves. So we're working on making sure that they take extra care with their clothes, making sure they take extra care with how they look, and teaching them that, because that's something they didn't learn, they didn't know before. Now I'll jump back to the volunteer program. Last year, we've had several volunteers come. Mostly have been my friends. Dan's come, Bruce and Joyce have come, board members. A friend of mine from the men's group that Jay knows, Joel's come over here. We've had some people from the church I used to go to, Scottsdale Bible, that knew me from the projects I did there, come over, several women over the last couple of years, and some are coming this year. My granddaughter came last year for a month. This year we have 5 girls coming in June. They're all high school graduate, just graduated high school, and they're, 2020 was a difficult year in America. I don't know because I was here, but everybody tells me that they were virtual schools, they were in lockdown, blah, blah, blah. They're all coming just to take that month and relax and find themselves. But we told them they're not going to come here and relax. We have a lot of work for them to do. We view volunteerism, the volunteers coming will be one of the biggest catalysts in helping these girls make the transition from being raised in the bush with no vision, no idea of what their self-worth is, to being able to envision a future for themselves. Not me telling them what their future is, but them envisioning it, them imagining it, them believing in it. And that's the interaction we believe that when they have with the volunteers, it'll make the biggest difference. We'll have the volunteers work with them in English class. We'll have the volunteers work with them in that. But I think more importantly is they're sitting around in the evenings, telling stories, talking about family, talking about the difference in family, talking about the difference in schools, and visions for the future. Because these girls are looking for their transition. They're a little bit older, and I believe that's going to be a significant advantage to us and the use of the volunteers. I believe the volunteers are going to go back with a whole different perspective on their life. They're not going to go back. I don't think many of them are going to go back and say, I'm not privileged, or I need this or I need that, after they see where these girls came from and how, and the challenges these girls have. So I think both groups will get a tremendous amount out of it. What we're looking for is, we're definitely looking for people with a heart, not necessarily just high school students, but people who have a heart for help. People can understand that there's a difference in cultures, not to come over and expect people to do everything we do the way we do. Understand that we've got a lot to share and a lot to learn from them too. But we're looking for girls, especially who are mature, who can understand those things and talk openly and fairly, not down. I don't think we had anybody here who did that. All of our girls just embraced the volunteers in the past, and I'm sure we'll do that in the future. Okay, Bruce, you want to do the ecoVillage, or do you want more on that?
Well, just to wrap up the importance of the volunteers. I mean, we're putting together a structured program. And I'd like to make the distinction between visitors and volunteers. We certainly want to have visitors also, and people are very welcome to come, and we have places for them to stay. And spending time with the girls I think it's just as advantageous to the visitors as it is to the girls. But volunteers as Rick was saying, is core to what we believe is necessary for the development of the girls. And we are set up now to handle up to 4 at a time. Now Rick has got June pretty much booked. I don't think 4 is optimum. I mean, but anywhere between 2 and 4. So please reach out. As I said, it's a structured program. It's not a vacation. We will keep them busy from dawn until dusk, but we'll also make available on the weekends and their days off to go visit the safaris. We are right in the middle of the safari territory, and Boniface would be more than happy to get them out to out to the parks and to see the wild animals. It will be something that will deflect their life. You can't help but to go there and not be changed. You'll be definitely positively impacted. Please reach out for volunteers. We haven't reached our, I'll call it our stride yet on, on the recruiting of volunteers, but we certainly are in a position right now. The travel is it's been safe. I mean, Dan, you were there back, July of last year, and is what I'm hearing from Rick is that there's more and more travelers that are coming on a regular basis to Tanzania. We believe we have a safe environment. We'll have you picked up at the airport and take care of your needs as you're in Tanzania. So again, reach out to people that you know that might have folks that are either taking younger people who are taking a break from college or are looking to take a year off. We'll take them for any length of time for volunteers, but minimum of at least a couple of weeks before they can really start to have an impact and kind of learn the ropes and so forth. So I don't know, Rick, if you want to add anything else to that, but volunteer program to us is absolutely core.
I would just add, I rent a house right above the Girls Center. The Girls Center is a enclosed, gated ex-guest house, as I said. On the hill, about 20 yards from the back gate, I rented a house that the owner of the guest house just finished out, and he made it into a duplex. So I have 3 bedrooms on my side. The other side that I rented out also is 3 bedrooms, self-contained, hot water that we're going to kitchenette and a sitting room that we're in the process of furnishing. So when guests come, we have facilities for them to stay. They're not only are convenient, but they're also very safe. And because there's 3 bedrooms, I'm putting bunk beds in each. So we could accommodate, 12 people if we had to. If we knew 12 were coming, I'd buy the extra beds.
Perfect.
And we certainly have enough things to keep them busy.
We got tons of work. Let me just say, one of the girls that Dan invited, she's an artist. She's a musician. She's bringing her guitar. She's going to be singing. Our girls have watched music videos a little bit with me, and so they're all in awe of that, but they've never seen it in person. They've seen keyboards at church. She's an artist, so she's going to paint portraits of them, and she's going to show them with watercolor how she does it, and they're going to get a chance to see some of it. Any of those skills, teachers, any teacher who could come and help our mothers learn how to teach better. Our staff is educated, but some have some teaching background, but none of them are degree teachers, trained teachers. We could use that. Nursery, first grade, primary, any kind of teaching capability. But you don't have to be a teacher to express, to talk, to teach. Just speaking English to them, just sharing stories teaches. And they love it. Bruce and Joyce know that. Dan knows that from being here. I certainly do, because I don't speak Swahili or Mom. And they all speak.
All right, so let's move on to the next topic, which is our future vision and where we want it to go. And so, Rick has been thinking about this obviously for the 8 years, or was it 9 years you've been on the ground there, as to what's our ultimate vision and what is it we want to have as our facilities and our mission. So again, we sat down last June to kind of document it all, and because we were in the process of understanding that we needed to have some professional help on designing a master plan for us. So we felt that we could scale to up to 120 girls in one location. Beyond that, I don't think it's practical. We're learning how to deal with, we've had up to 60 girls at one point in time. But we think that with the right infrastructure and doing it with the right staffs and so forth, we feel comfortable that we could go up to 120. Beyond that, I think it's a different facility. It's a different, what we're calling a village. So we want to have homes. We do not want to have dorms. We're looking for 10 freestanding homes with 12 girls in it each, that also has the house mothers living with them. We're trying to create a family environment. We will create a family environment from a physical perspective, along with, today we have the house mothers assigned to the specific girls. We're going to need a multi-purpose building for group events. So, if you think about it, we're going to have to be able to feed 160 or so people at once. If we want everybody to sit down and talk about it. We've also decided that instead of heading up kitchens in each one of the girls' homes, let's set up one master kitchen that provides the big meals, and then we just need minor kitchens in each of the homes. That will bring our cost down significantly. Sports fields. We want to have some learning center with a preschool and tutoring for after class. We believe vocational skills are critical for the girls' development. And then there is, I'll call it the administration and the director's house. They're kind of the overhead from, we need to have project offices. We need a place for the managing director to be on site. We also felt that it was important that we had a farm that we could grow our own vegetables and fruit and provide milk and a protein source for food. We've been doing that for the last number of years, and it's significantly decreased our cost of our food, but we want to scale that up. We also want to use the farm to teach more modern farming as a vocation to some of the girls that are interested in it. And then lastly, we wanted to figure out a way to create a sustainable fund that, we're doing something commercially there, some sort of social enterprise. At first, we thought it was going to be down the agriculture path, but as we went forward, we learned that that probably is not the best strategy. We had developed a partnership with some urban planners and architects out of Australia. They did an outstanding job. They are an organization that focuses on community development, and they've done this work for us pro bono. It's a significant investment that they have made into MGRC. So it took them about 6 months. Rick and I we had met with them weekly from about June last year all the way through to December. That document, which is, I don't know how many pages it is, it's quite a few pages long, is actually on our website. And so if you were to go to our website, you'll see that there's a new, something new that's added to it. It's called the ecoVillage. And if you go down to the ecoVillage, there is the master plan. And you can download that document and review it. It's more than just laying out the buildings. They really stepped back and they helped us think much more clear and from a perspective of the planning and what is it we want it to be and how we're going to go and function it. And they also did the legwork and the research in creating a business model in partnering with us as to how are we going to fund this thing to make MGRC sustainable for the long term. And so they did some research of other organizations, and we kind of came down to utilizing the tourism industry, and that's what helped influence us to the location that we're in right now. We wanted to be kind of in the center of that, which is in the Carato area, close to the parks. So that's the master plan, and again, you can download and see the details of that from the website. Again, our objectives, kind of already talked about it. We wanted to have a well-configured design that relates to the site and the surroundings. We want this to be something we're proud of. As Rick calls it, a showcase, but we're not making it opulent. We want to make it so that it's organized, that it makes sense, that it is something that, that we're working hard towards, that we're going to be something we're proud of. Entry points and access. These are the things that the community developers really thought hard about, is how do we keep the girls safe? At the same time, how do we make the right parts of the facility open to the public? The multi-purpose hall design for maximum flexibility, using local material and construction methods, and obviously the buildings that are going to be built to last. So we talk about the making ourselves sustainable. Sustainability has always been part of our mission, but we want to take it to the next level, and we want to leverage this purpose-driven travel as a catalyst that we will use to help build our sustainability. We'll couple the safari experience with travelers that want to stay at our place. We'll open up a lodge. We'll talk about that in more detail coming forward, but the goal is that we're going to create a social enterprise that's associated with MGRC that will spin off enough positive cash to do most of the funding for the center. So we won't be totally dependent upon donors. The cost and so forth of the center is something that will be kept up separate from the MGRC's operational costs as far as carrying the girls. But we'll make the bookings and the management of it a separate organization. We won't. We'll handle the bookings, if you will, directly ourselves with either partnering with safari companies and travel agencies. We're already in discussions with multiple travel agencies. We have one donor that is involved with, owns a travel agency, is involved with NPR, and we hope to leverage that into the future. We also believe that the Eco Lodge is something where we could use as a platform for vocational travel or vocational training for our girls that will help them enter into a number of different potential careers: hospitality, food, agriculture, industry, and so forth. So, we really want to teach the girls the entrepreneurial spirit, how to run an operation, how to, provide services and so forth to make money, to be more sustainable and independent in the future. As I said, we purchased the 15 acres that is right in the middle of a lot of the parks. Up here is Serengeti. Our future land, the property that we own is no longer future land. It is the property we own. Is here. Down below is Tanqueray, the Ngorongoro Crater, Lake Manyara National Park is right there. The airport where you fly into is about 4 hours away. We also were lucky and blessed that the property that we bought, Rick was able to locate and secure a rental property that he's now calling home. And it's only about a mile as the crow flies from the site, so that the girls have been walked down there multiple times. It's an easy thing to manage the construction of our area. It actually consists of 2 plots. A 15 acres total, but there is a 12-acre plot, which is the main part, and then there is a 3-acre plot at the top. We're going to use the 3 acres for a farm. In fact, a little more detail here. This is actually on a hill. It's actually pointing to, and go back here, the Rift Valley is down here. It kind of goes along the base of the valley. So this right here, it's hard to tell in a 2D picture, but it's actually on a hillside. And so the top of the property is relatively flat, but then it gets to be a pretty good slope to get all the way to the bottom. I forget how many meters it is from the top to the bottom, but it's at least 50 meters, I think, Rick. So we would have the farm at the top, and the Eco Lodge, which I'll go into more detail, will be where we're renting out small little villas. That's going to be on one side of the property, has its own separate access. Offices and the multi-purpose building were here, and then the girls' homes would be down the hill further. And so you can see there's a separation, a barrier that kind of takes the public land from the more public area from where we want to keep secure with the girls. And all the way at the bottom of the hill, we would have things like banana groves, our biogas facility for sustainable energy. And then we have a well, which is actually, we own some property that jets out there that we have access to where we can put a well. There is, if you will, government water there, but it's probably relatively expensive. We think we can be more self-sustaining with our own borehole. But that's the general layout of the facilities. We're doing everything in phases. And so when we originally were working last December, before we picked a rental facility out, the farm wasn't number one. But because of our immediate need, and it turns out to be probably is the right sequencing. We just weren't thinking that way last December. There's no place to put our cows and chickens, and gardens and so forth that we had. So when we moved to the Carato area, we ate the chickens. Rick and the girls ate the chickens.
One chicken. I didn't eat. I was traveling. The girls ate them.
Yeah, all right, so you didn't eat any of the chickens. The girls ate all the chickens, but we wanted to maintain our dairy cows, and so they are currently on a friend's property who's graciously loaned that to us. But we need to be able to move those onto our own farm. So the farm became phase one. Construction started about 2 or 3 weeks ago, Rick. Go ahead.
No, it was 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it's really accelerating. We expect to be completed the primary buildings for the farm in May. It consists of a large barn, which you kind of see the 3D model of it. It will house 6 cows comfortably, and about 140 chickens. Half of which be layer chickens for eggs, and the other half will be hens for protein. We'll also have gardens on site, some fruit trees that will grow fruit, but more importantly, we're going to put an aquaponics system in for our vegetables. That part, we're still in the planning. We're trying to partner with either a university that teaches aquaponics or some other organizations so that we can get the system up and running and train us on how to operate it. There's also 2 homes for caretakers that are being constructed. The actual overall budget for this is about $130,000, $140,000. That funding has been secured. So that's why we've already started the construction, and it's moving forward at a pretty rapid pace. In fact, if you want to see an update as to what's going on, as far as the construction goes, if you went to, again, the ecoLodge, and you went down to the ecoFarm, there is a button here, and that will take you to, Rick goes out there on almost a daily basis and takes pictures and movies. And it's pretty fascinating to me to watch construction in a third world country, but they start with making bricks on site, one brick at a time. And so as you can see, it's in the beautiful countryside. He's brought the girls there to kind of look at the property and to play. Rick working with the construction company, which we partnered with, they've done a nice job.
And the local government also.
Yeah, and with the local government, we'll be investing for the local government on the roads and the infrastructure, because we want it to be an easily passable road even when it's raining out through the raining season. And so, obviously Rick and El Asante are down on a daily basis. As you can see, the construction is moving right along. In fact, the buildings are already coming up. You'll see that we have the walls up on the construction building. There's a storage and management office that's going in first that the construction company will be using. And you can see that the fence is a major ongoing or a major construction project. We're not just throwing up a little chain link fence. It will be something that's what 7 to 8 feet tall. They're
7 feet tall, but there's also a footer that goes around the entire perimeter. So there's a cement footer that the wire gets embedded in, along with the 200 posts, cement posts.
right. And so what you're seeing there is they're building the foundation for the fence, and then there's these large concrete posts that are put every 3 meters or something. And so we're going to come back to the fence and discuss that at the end here. But anyway, we are fencing in the perimeter fence for the 3 acres on the farm. So that's, and again, it's not a small investment. It's like around $12,000. Cost about $25 a meter. So that's the ecoFarm. The next phase is the ecoLodge. And the lodge is the social enterprise that we will rent out the rooms. And so each, whatever we decide to call it in the end, each lodge or each villa is either a 1 or a 2 bedroom, and they'll be rented out independently. And then there's 2 other buildings. There will be a general area to congregate for dinner and meals. And the valley, this is facing the valley. So this is where the view is. That's why you'll see that they're all kind of facing the same way. And so that is, if you will, a common area. You'll notice there's an outside grill there for the visitors to relax and enjoy the view. And then the other building, which isn't a building that people stay in, is the office building at the top. Which would be where people check in and the offices to operate the ecoLodge. Each of the buildings, let me go back to full screen here. Each of the buildings is either 1 or 2 bedrooms, where there'll be a small kitchenette, a dining area, a private deck, and then each one has a view of the Rift Valley. And again, we would rent these out on a nightly basis, and I think. We'll furnish them. We'll talk about the financial model in a second, but we'll furnish them to be a high level stay for somebody. And we want this to be as close to a 5-star experience as we can pull off, because we're going to charge a premium. And the premium is going to help pay for obviously the stay, but the profits from that's what's going to help pay Rick's bills to take care of the girls. So when we look at the business model, and I'm not going to go into detail on it, but we want to operate as a separate organization. El Asante has experience in running hotel in the hospitality area, so we've got some knowledge in that. But we'll hire people that will be specifically for the ecoLodge. It will be managed and oversight by both boards, the U.S. and the local board in Tanzania. All the profits would be used to operate the girls' homes. The bookings, as I said, we will work through our former relationships with travel and safari companies. And we have looked at a lot of different, when I say we, Rick and Boniface and El Asante have looked at a lot of similar homes to figure out what kind of pricing and so forth we think we would get, what kind of revenue we would generate. And on an annual basis, assuming the 2 numbers that are really most important here, a conservative occupancy rate of 40% and charging $200 a night per person, we think that we'll bring in revenue around $370,000. And our expenses would probably be around $50,000 to $60,000. That means that we're going to bring off positive cash once we're operational of about $250,000. That will pick up, if not all, but most of our operating expenses for managing the center as far as the girls' care go, and development. If you were to do this as a loan, which we're not planning on doing it, we're hoping for donors. The $800,000 is going to cost to build this would have an ROI of 3.5 or 3.1 years, which is not outstanding, but it's pretty acceptable as far as this type of industry. So we're hopeful that we can create this as a sustainable financial model that keeps the center up and running into the foreseeable future without the need of heavy donors. Plus, I think we're conservative here as the number of people we're going to hire. We're going to have a community impact where we're hiring local people, providing good paying jobs that they'll have going forward. So that's the story of the ecoLodge. It's not a single building, it's 10 buildings. It's going to cost us about $750,000, which I know that sounds like a lot of money. It is a lot of money, but if you think about 10 buildings and the quality of what we're looking for, I think it's a very good investment. Part of the added cost we're going to have to do to build the ecoLodge first is we have to pick up some construction costs from other parts which would have been on 15 acres, for example, infrastructure for fencing, and we're going to need to have the multi-purpose building for a kitchen and so forth. So, but that's all been kind of thought through. These numbers are estimates. We have not gotten quotes from construction companies yet, and that's kind of our next phases that we're going to go through. These are just I'll call it educated guesses. So moving on from the ecoLodge, let's go to the girls' homes. And we probably, as the designers and the architects, spent the most time here in how should we lay out the girls' homes. And so the initial designs that we had prior to picking the location was it was going to be a single-story building. But because we're building on a pretty steep hill, we're making use of the land itself. It is a 2-story or 1.5-story building. So the entrance is on this side, and you either go up the stairs to where the girls are, or down the stairs to the living room and the kitchen and so forth. And then you have to go past the matrons or the house mothers. So there'll be 2 house mothers that are living there with their own ensuite bedrooms. They'll have their own baths. And again, there'll be a controlled access to where the girls are. There'll be 3 girls' bedrooms, which are out facing the valley. And there is one common bathroom for all 12 girls. So in a hallway that joins them together, there'll be a storage room that we could either use for storage and or as a study hall. The lower level would have on it is a large living room. That's where we would put the dining table, a small prep kitchen, and utility room for things like washing machines and so forth. And then a large deck. And if you were to kind of look at it from elevations, this is looking at it from the back going, from downhill, looking at the girls' homes in the living area, and the matrons is off to the side. From the side view, you can kind of see the slope that we're dealing with. The matron's home is at the top here, and then again, the elevation showing where the living room and so forth is, and a deck off the back. And this is the 3D models of the homes that the architects built up with their fancy software. And it's pretty much built on, it's a relatively accurate drawing, let's put it that way, between the placement of the houses and the slope of the hill. So you kind of see what we're dealing with. Again, the matron's house here, and then the next picture is that we would build 5 of these in a cluster. And the cluster is meant to have like a small communal area of those 5 homes. So there'd be 60 girls essentially in this one section. And there'd be 2 of these clusters, both on the side of the hill. So that's the girls' homes. The construction of that phase Again, the majority of the buildings, there's 15 of them, are the actual homes themselves. We think that we can get those homes built. We don't know this for a fact yet, but we're hoping that we can get them built for about $50,000 a piece. They're about, I think about 1,200 square foot, or I mean 2,400 square foot each, is to each one of those buildings. This phase doesn't include just the girls' homes, but it also has the admins, the director house. This would complete the center, this $850,000. So it's got the preschool, the maintenance, vocational training center, director's homes, playground, sports fields, borehole, the whole 9 yards. So that's the last phase of the construction. So going on is next phase. In fact, the call to action here is the farm is going to be completed, as I said, by end of May, and or by sometime in May, may not be end of May, where they're going to have workers coming off. We want to keep the workers busy, and obviously that construction company would love to be the successful bidder for the rest of the project. The next thing we're going to need is the fencing, the perimeter fencing, and it costs about $25 a meter. So our next thing that we're going to raise, I mean, if we can get the whole money, the whole $750,000 to build the ecoVillage, that'd be outstanding. But we need to start construction here in the next 60 days. So what I'd like to do is let's start raising the money to build the perimeter fence. 20 meters of fence would cost $500, 100 meters would be $2,500. And if you want a name plaque on the 100 meters, and we'd certainly be happy to put a name plaque for whoever the donor was that did it. That brings it down to at 100 meters a piece. We only need 18 donors and we get that perimeter fence up. It's about $45,000 to build the perimeter fence. We can't do anything inside here until we have the perimeter fence and the gates. The next building that we would put up is the multi-purpose building. We don't have a design, we don't have a funding, or not a funding, but an estimate yet for a construction company. We're guessing around 115,000. If we had that, as soon as the farm is completed, we could have local events where we could bring the girls down to visit with visitors and local people. They could have their meals. We could have them down there for a barbecue or a dinner and so forth, to entertain and to do fundraising locally. We could also start using the kitchen as a potential second source or a better source of preparing the bulk food that's used up a mile up the road at our where the girls' homes are right now. So the next construction that's not funded at the moment is the multi-purpose home and the perimeter fence. And then beyond that, then we start building out the eco lodges. And again, the first thing we're probably going to need is the infrastructure for those two, which is for those buildings, which would be the check-in office and then the individual homes. So that's kind of where we are from a sequencing standpoint and from a construction standpoint. I guess I open up for questions if anybody's got on. I know it's an awful lot of material, but again, the detail is in that document I showed you a link to.
Let me just make a brief statement, which is hard for me to do, but one of the reasons we're optimistic about the business plan is the site location is nice, but we've got two people on our board that have been in the hospitality and safari business for over 20 years. And they have so many contacts. They know the business models for not just how much to charge, but what things need to look like, how to get the safari companies to use you instead of the other facilities. So we have a wealth of knowledge on our board dedicated to helping this thing succeed. I think that's a huge differentiator for us. Because if it was just me and Bruce, I'd say it's a great idea, but I wouldn't know how to go about it to get them in. But we're comfortable that 40%, we'll be able to do that post-COVID.
Ricky, just one question. I heard that the closest airport is 4 hours away. Arusha, how far away is from this location?
2.5 hours. 2.5 hours, all on good roads, solid road. So you're climbing Kilimanjaro. We will make sure we make the arrangements for you to be there. Then we pick you up and bring you here.
Don't disclose too much. This is create expectations.
No expectation. Where's on? I'll tell her to make sure you get on the bus. No, but from the airport. It's a conservative 4 hours, very easy 4 hours, but it's really less than that. Yes. But yeah, and Boniface has driven it many times. I drive back and forth to Arusha more than I want because we're still finishing up some work there, and it's an easy 2.5 hours. And that's if the police know you and they wave you through and they say hi to you. You shake their hands. They know us.
Arrigo, this is Dan. Just to interrupt for a second.
Yeah.
I want to answer the question that I think is behind your question. Hundreds of thousands in non-COVID times, hundreds of thousands of tourists, wealthy tourists, fly into Kilimanjaro or Arusha and take transportation to this area, because this is where you enter the Serengeti and the Ngorongoro crater. So there are already, the infrastructure is in place for bringing, as I say, hundreds of thousands of people from the airports to exactly this area. So even though it sounds like a long trip, 4 hours, it's very easy.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dan. Actually, you read in my mind. I was exactly thinking how appealing could be for these wealthy tourists that can afford $200 per night to be in a place that is far away from the airport. I understand it's close to the safari, so that's perfect. That's great.
And one of the things that we did as we're developing the business plan is that, you know, El Asante and Boniface have been going around and collecting rates of hotels or similar lodges in the area. And we're neither on the high nor the low of that. There's also, to prove this model out, there are a couple other charities that do something relatively similar. And one of them in the area that they're run by some Dutch folks. And they're using a little different bend on it. Again, if you look at the master plan, you'll see their model. The $200 a night, I can tell you, when Joyce and I were there, that's peanuts compared to in what a good lodge would cost somebody. You know, when you're in the crater, it goes all the way up to about $1,500 a person per night. So I think it's a conservative number that's achievable. The area of risk in my mind isn't keeping it booked. To my mind, the area that we need to overmanage is, can we provide the service levels, and hire the right people, to make sure that we're providing a stay that's commensurate with the price. And that's why, again, our confidence is built with the board locally. Between El Asante and Boniface, first of all, with the network of folks to the safari companies to bring the people in, but El Asante from knowing how to run the hospitality. But we're focused on it. We're laser focused on the ability to be able to provide that level of service, because running it at let's say we only charge $100 a night. Well, great, breaking even does us no good. We need to be profitable to be able to fund the rest of the operation of this. And I think the whole community is going to step up and provide support for us, because again, we're providing good paying jobs. There's local culinary schools and so forth where we can be interning for their chefs and so forth. There's all kinds of ideas that Rick and crew have on how to build this thing out. So we're excited about it. Our challenge is those big numbers that you saw. That, you know, for roughly around $1.8 million, 1.9, including the property. That's what it's going to cost to get this operational, but the vision to make it sustainable is really what we're focused on. And if we can pull that off, I think we're going to achieve something great.
Bruce, can I interrupt for a second?
Sure.
The other thing that to those who are not on the board that, you know, we've discussed over the years is that we want to give these girls the opportunity to do something other than getting married at 12 years old and having babies their whole life. That's the culture they come from. So, you know, we're not teaching them English because we want to be able to talk to them. We're teaching them English because that is the language of business and government and tourism. And by the way, this is a poor country. Tourism is a huge part of the economy. And if we can show these girls that they can have a career, they can support themselves and their families in relatively high-paying jobs, then, you know, that opens up all the world of opportunities to them they would have never, ever had growing up where they did. So part of this is, you know, obviously financial. We want the center to be self-financing. But part of it's also, you know, teaching these girls that they can be independent, you know, and they can look forward to a life that is so much more than what they otherwise would have had. To me, that kind of opportunity thing needs to be understood in this context.
Right. Very well said, Dan.
Yeah, this is Jay. Yeah, let me just kind of follow up on that comment. You know, I was talking to some friends a few days ago about all this, and you know, that was their first question. It's like, well, what happens down the road to these girls? Do they go through all of this, and is their life down the road hopefully better than it is today? And that was their question. And you know, that's a typical question. I think anytime you're dealing with a nonprofit or a charity, where great services are provided to people or to kids or whatever, and then the question is always, well, what happens down the road? Does everything kind of revert back to their experience that they have today? And so I think, you know, Dan's comment is important, that, you know, we have what we're putting together here is an opportunity for the girls to learn new things and be involved on, whether it be in hospitality or food or whatever, that we help them lay out a great future for themselves. And because it's a common question I think we all get as to what happens down the road. So I shared, you know, Dan's comment there about, you know, that's part of the, I guess, the selling process, if you will, for all of us.
Jay, yeah, say, not only do we get that question a lot, I wish more people would ask that question, because when I first came here, I see many charities who do good stuff. I mean, they spend a lot of money, they have a great, their intentions are good, but at the end of the day, I lived in the bush for 5 years. Girls go to Arusha, learn how to sew. 3 years later, come back with a baby and a sewing machine.
Mm.
They get married, they sell the sewing machine, the husband buys a goat, because there's no business in the bush. They didn't learn any business skills. They didn't learn how to run a sewing business. They didn't learn how to market their product that they sold. So all they got was a sewing machine they traded for a goat. I'm not talking about one or two. This is common. There's another organization run by a Catholic nun. She's a wonderful lady. She does I sent a girl there before I started MGRC. They take these girls who don't pass National 7, they save them from getting married, they coach them into passing the National 7, they get sponsors, send them to secondary school. After secondary school, they're done. Maybe 1% do something with their life. They don't get life skill coaching. They don't get entrepreneurs. They get an academic education up there, and some of them take some education, some of them just go through the motions. The one I sent just went through the motions. She failed National 7 twice. She was 2 years in this organization to pass the 7. That's 4 years. She failed out of school after the second year of secondary school. And it's a private school. It's hard to fail out of a private school because as long as the donors are spending money, they still keep it. She didn't care about school. There was nothing that motivated her to stay in school except she didn't want to marry the man her father picked. She wanted to get married at 14, but she didn't want to marry the man her father picked. So it was money that was spent by well-intentioned donors, but it didn't have the impact that that donor really wanted. And the donor didn't get to see the transparency to what's really happening with the girl that they're sponsoring. I'm not saying we're going to have a 100% success rate, but we teach life skills. I teach them tonight. Before this, I'm teaching them how to count money, how to think without writing something down on paper. And it's amazing how difficult it is for some, but over time, light comes on, and they come back and they're so eager to show you what they can do. But they have to have a vision. You ask a child here, you ask your children when they're 5, 6, 8 years old, what do you want to be when you grow up? Fireman, nurse, blah, blah. They change it every other day. You ask a kid here, 7, 8, they just stare at you. I don't understand the question. Because they have control over themselves to do whatever they can dream of. And we constantly preach them daily, not once in a while, daily. We preach. You're in control of your life. God has given you blessings. Use them.
That's great.
Sorry for my soapbox, but
Great message. I think that truly that's our differentiator. Is we want to make a long-term change. We're not focused on treating the symptom. We want to solve this generational poverty and the abuse of the girls and so forth, and solve it. Not just, again, give them a meal and send them off to school. There's plenty of that activity. The other thing I think that differentiates us is that I believe in an open book policy. As donors, people should see where the money is going and what we're spending. We're working hard at providing that transparency. Anybody wants to take a look at where we are financially and what those monies are being spent for, we are more than happy. In fact, we probably expose more than we should. But at the end of the day, I believe that it's a differentiation for us to make the donors feel like they're providing real value. It's impacting the girls' lives.
Yeah.
And so,
Bruce Arrigo, quick question. Other donors, are you guys considering other sources of financing like grants, contribution from NGOs or other sources?
We're open to all. Where our priority has been is on private donors. We are on a path to look at some corporate donors. My challenge with corporate donors, that I believe is a challenge anyway, is that the bigger the company, the harder the decision is. I mean, you're an ex-Rockwell person, you know what it takes to a large organization to make a decision. Small, mid-sized companies, I think, is a sweet spot. If you can get to the owners and the decision makers, then you can tell them the story, then I think that people respond. As far as grants go, I've got mixed feelings in grants. I've done some analysis and spent a fair amount of time trying to understand it. There's a huge industry out there with grants. It takes a fair amount of effort and specialized skill, and they come with a lot of strings. The strings being reporting and so forth. We don't have the staff to do that at this point in time, but we're not opposed to it. If we could find somebody that understood how to execute it, we would certainly look at that. But it's a full-time job to manage grants.
And to write proposals.
In writing proposals, yeah. But those are good questions. Thank you, Rico.
Sure.
Rick keeps hoping that there's going to be this magic donor that's going to come and just make our lives all much easier.
Open their 401 and get it over to them.
Oh, I'm praying. Let me say, Bruce is he's the guy chasing the funds in America. And he stresses them out because he knows, and I know, how difficult it is. When I first came here, I said, I have a lot of friends. I had all kinds of dreams, vision. This is the culmination, but I didn't think we'd get here after my first couple of years. Then, one thing after another, this happened, that I almost leave the country. Then I put out a GoFundMe for some cows. I didn't know Bruce that well. Arrigo, you probably knew Bruce better than I did at Rockwell. I knew Greg, but I didn't know Bruce. I knew who he was. He didn't remember I worked for him for a couple of weeks before he quit. That's how much he did.
That's because you're such a hard worker.
Yeah.
Rick is more memorable than I.
No, he put me in an office with blinds. And of course, I don't know the Rockwell culture, but that was a big deal. Made a couple other directors very jealous, because I was a new guy. Anyway, he still didn't remember any of that because he was too busy going off to ABB and becoming a president. But every time it looks like it's difficult times, I don't want to be overly religious, but God has seen a way to open a door, and it just keeps happening. I mean, we now have land, we have a farm going up. I thought I could do this on my own. That's how naive I was. With Bruce stepping on board, other people who I hadn't talked to, some of the donors since 1992. People have donated to us, and not insignificant donations at times. They just knew a little bit of us, read what we were doing, and believed that in what we're doing. So I mean, it's just been in faith. So when Bruce and I talk about money, God's going to provide. We don't know who or when, but they're coming. And all we have to do is keep pushing, doing the right thing, being honest, focused on the girls, and continue to do our work. I firmly believe it's happening. But if you have any of those friends in Genoa who want to, loosen up with some pace, we're open.
It's better if I look in Cambridge or Weston.
Well, Cambridge is definitely the place. What I've learned in doing this. I mean, I run a marketing business. And so we know how to extract money from companies to invest in other companies, right? But charity is more difficult. But what I've learned is that just doing things on social media is not important. It's important from a perspective of awareness, but where we're going to be successful is, 1 or 2 degrees of separation of people we know. Increase the network. People. If we could leverage your relationships, it's asking a lot for a donor to introduce us to their friends. But honestly, that's where we're going to be successful. And that's where we've been successful. I mean, our major donors have come from word of mouth and through relationships of some of the core team. Every time a good sized donation or a sponsor comes up, the first thing I do is I do the genealogy. Where did this person come from? And we try to learn from it every time. And what we've learned is, although there's always a couple of exceptions, for the most part, they're connected to somebody that we knew. You're going to say something, Dan? Okay. we've got a lot of information. One last thing I wanted to recognize again, because I forgot last time, we are blessed with some great volunteers. They're doing some outstanding work. They're being able to tell Rick's story. And I can't say enough about their efforts and so forth in doing it. They make it look easy. It is anything but. If you look at the website, there's been a lot of changes to it. It's continuing to evolve. I said social media is not important for major donors, but it takes a lot of effort. You know, the Facebook accounts, the Instagram accounts, the YouTube channel, the LinkedIn accounts, that all takes effort. And so, you know, our volunteers like Victoria, Bev, Liz, Kelly, Janice, the local board and so forth, that's what's making it happen. So for other people, just as a quick thing that Victoria added just yesterday, if you go onto any one of the pages on our website, there's a bottom part that says you'll see a thing for a Flickr account or pictures. And what we haven't been doing a good job of, and people have been critical on, is provide better updates what's going on. And so even though Rick is the best photographer, I always give him a hard time about it. We're posting a lot more up of those pictures, and you can see where are we in construction site, what are the major events going on. You know, Rick takes thousands of pictures, and we keep 10s and 20s of them, but we're the ones that he takes that are decent, we're putting up on the site, and you know, there's, you know, I probably put up 100 of them today. So
Rick, they look much better the last few weeks, by the way.
Because I respond to coaching, especially when the coach has a stick in his hand.
yeah.
Coachable.
So they're again.
I'm not. Blame Elisante. That's Elisante's job, not mine. Blame
Elisante, I think the best strategy is to give cameras to the kids. They'll do better.
I agree. I think she's sending some over with Liz.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
I'm sure people would love to see it. There's some really great, cute pictures up there right now.
Yeah, they're all very
and
good.
we'll continue to upload those. So again, thanks, Victoria. All right, with that, I guess I'd like to end the meeting. We will post it for people who didn't get to see it, and it'll be on our website. And again, everybody.
Any other questions? Everybody okay? All right. Good.
All right. Thank you very much.